Action.
It was 4 a.m. We were digging in our crampons into the slippery ice, trying to get traction with big gusts of wind and snow being thrown into our face. Climbing a mountain at 2 a.m. in the midst of a nor'easter was going to be a lesson or a big mistake. It started when 5 of us were trying to think of something legendary to do. The topic of hiking came up, which isn't so legendary, but we quickly decided to hike up Mount Monadnock with the objective to see the sunrise. I remember my mom telling me to watch out for the crazies on the mountain at 2 in the morning, when really it seemed like we were the crazies hiking to the summit of the mountain in the middle of a blizzard starting at 2. We planned to go on this hike in about a week in advance, but not until the day before we found out there was going to be a snowstorm. We decided to say, let's still do this, it will be legendary and memorable. Now back to 10 p.m. The night before the morning of the hike, the 5 of us go to Chili's to get some food. We're making some final plans and get prepared for the worst. 12 a.m. comes by. We had some last minute packing and loaded all of our backpacks with extra pairs of gloves, hats, socks, lots of water and food. Once the truck was packed up, the 5 of us started blaring music to get pumped up and are on our way to the base of Monadnock. A quick pit stop at the gas station to get some beef jerky and a Red Bull for a boost of energy to get prepared. Snow is starting to come down, hitting the windshield of the truck and coating the roads quickly. 2:06 a.m. We arrive at the base of Mount Monadnock. The moment we get out of the truck, we start to second guess ourselves, thinking, do we really want to do this? What's going to happen? Will we survive this ordeal? All I kept thinking was how so many people thought that we were crazy for doing this. When with that in the back of my mind, it pushed me to make it to the summit, to want to make it to the summit even more. The visibility was about 15 feet in front of you at best. Just our luck, the trail was marked white, but since it was snowing, it was to our disadvantage. It was 18 degrees at the base of the mountain, not counting heavy winds. Our journey to the summit was finally on its way after the 2 weeks of planning. It was almost dead silent out there. Starting out, the only thing you could hear was the crunching of our crampons digging into the icy trail and our heavy breathing with the whistling wind. Within the first half hour, the 5 of us start to shed layers and eventually get down to just our shirts from getting so hot. On to 4:02 a.m. We take a 5-minute break after hiking for a little while up a steep and icy mountain. We decided to refuel with food and water. Our hands were starting to get tingly, so we had to put on our second pair of gloves. 4:07 a.m. comes by. Packed in our bag was an old t-shirt and some gasoline. One of us grabbed a stick, wrapped the t-shirt around it, coated it in gas, and made a torch, and hiked up to the summit with the torch. As the hike continued, we got pretty loud. Stumbling upon footprints, wondering if we'd run into any animals. It looked like what we saw was fresh bobcat footprints, so we were wondering if we'd see any bears or something like that. 4:15 came around and we started to lose the trail. Now once you get past the tree line at Monadnock, you think you're at the top when really you're only at like one of the few peaks that are actually up there that are exposed with no trees, so it's kind of deceiving. In search of the trail markers of rocks piled up, we knew we were approaching the summit, but just couldn't find it yet. At 4:34 a.m., the 5 of us reached the summit finally. It is windy beyond belief, and as a victory celebration, we set up a giant subway flag that was carried up the whole mountain and goofed around at the summit meanwhile. In search of a place to warm up and cook some ramen with the jet boiler, we find a little crevice that all of us can cram into. An hour passes and it's 5:30. We're still at the summit shivering and soaking wet from the snow turning into rain. But after being fed up with shivering, I said, let's hike down or we're all going to get hypothermia. At first the guys didn't believe me, but after that they got bored from goofing around and got colder. So that got their attention and we began our descent, hiking down the trails. The descent was filled with sliding and falling down multiple times on the slippery snow and ice, getting snow shoved all up in our legs and back. It was definitely easier going down because we could follow our tracks and it took less energy, of course. 7:27 a.m. comes around and we reach the base of the mountain and warm up the car. Completely sleep deprived, we start the last part of our journey, the journey home in the ongoing blizzard.